everyone, it's Dikshit Chawla and I'm from Lexicon, and also I'm a first year student at Government Medical College Bhatia. In this video, we'll see the top resources to study anatomy in first year of your medical school. So let's get started. So if we talk of the basic anatomy, you have three sections. The first is the gross anatomy, the second is the histology part, and third you have the embryology. So let's discuss about these one by one. Okay, so first let's talk about gross anatomy, and that we have textbooks, right? So the three main textbooks that are followed by most medical students are the BD Chaurasia's textbook, the Gray's Anatomy, and Snell's Clinical Anatomy. Okay, so let's take up these resources one by one. In the slide, I have some pictures from BDC, and it's from the chapter The Posterior Triangle. And the thing with BDC is that it has got a really great theory, and it's summarized into points. So let's say if we're talking about the posterior triangle of the neck, okay, then you have in clear defined point what forms the apex, what forms the roof of the triangle, what forms the floor of the triangle, and what are the contents of the triangle, the divisions of the triangle. Like everything is summarized into points, so that makes it very easy to write in your university examinations. But from an understanding point of view, BDC is not a very good book, I'd say. And the appreciable thing in BDC Russia, which lacks in all like very more books, is that it's got a great clinical anatomy. So side by side you get to know the clinical anatomy of the topic you're studying, right? So for example, you're studying posterior triangle, you get to know the clinical anatomy of posterior triangle, what's torticollis and what's like this clinical anatomy is here, like external jugular vein is examined to check for venous pressure and all that. So you get a clear idea of what goes in the clinic and how everything you've studied is applied in a real life, right? So yeah, and BDC has got almost every clinical you need as per the NMC curriculum, right? So that's where BD Thoracea has an upper edge. But the thing with Grays is Grays has got a really good diagrams. Like if you compare this diagram with this diagram, it's a this diagram in BDC is a schematic one, which is kind of like it allows you to draw diagrams in your exams. But the thing with Grays is like they're perfect. They're really good diagrams and help to visualize your structure. It helps in your spatial memory also, right? And the concept in Gray's Anatomy is excellent. Like it allows you to retain the relevant information only. And again, it has got some tables too, which help it easy to remember things. So yeah, Gray's Anatomy, like for an author book, gold standard everybody follows. You can also use it for certain concepts, right? And the diagrams are awesome. Next, we move on to Snell's Clinical Anatomy. So here also I have some pictures from Snell's Clinical Anatomy. Now, as the name says, it's a book for clinical anatomy. So if you want to dwell deep into the clinical aspects of the topic you're studying, Snell's is the book for you. Like I use it to study about the anomalies of kidneys and ureters. So yeah, like every clinical aspect like combined with the embryology is explored in Snell's Clinical Anatomy. So you can really use this for the clinical part. Okay, so we're done with gross anatomy, and let's also look at some useful resources. You can use Netter's Atlas for pictures. It has got these really good pictures. For example, this picture I took it from Netter's of the diaphragm. Like every structure is labeled and elaborately explained. And the Google Images, the single best resource for images is Google Images. You like, for example, if you're studying about the muscles of the head and neck, you go to Google and type head and neck muscles, and you'll get a plethora of pictures. From that, you can select and like copy paste in your document, but best pictures you get, right? And Kenhub and Osmosis also has got really good pictures. For example, the layers of deep cervical fascia, I took this from Osmosis. This picture is from Osmosis. It's a really good picture showing each and every layer clearly. And this picture is from Osmosis. The muscles of the head and neck, I took this from Kenhub. So yeah, these are some really good resources for images purposes. And for neuroanatomy, of course, everybody knows Dr. Najib's videos. It has got, I guess, 26 or 28 videos, but they're completely worth it. So highly recommended. Next, we move on to the histology part, and again, the Indian author textbook that most of the students in India follow is the IBSing. The diffuse atlas for the atlas or the microscopic images, the electronic images basically, and of course, then again, we have Google images. The thing in histology is the more you look at the microscope and explore the structures, the more you'll get the subject. Okay, so the best thing is if you go to your histology lab, please don't like focus on completing your files and talking to your friends there. Instead, look at the microscope, like maneuver the slides and all, and get a clear picture of what you're seeing. Cause in the final exam too, you have to draw the same picture in your exams, right? So the more you focus in your histology lab, the more histology you'll get to know better, right? So yeah, and IBSing and diffuse are like good for IBSing is good for theory, and diffuse you can use for the electronic plates or the electron microscope images of the slides, right? So for example, these are some pictures I took from the IBSing and Google images and diffuse. So yeah, as this is a 6 TS of a cardiac muscle, this one cardiac muscle, and this is how you actually see the slide under the microscope. Okay, so side by side you carry your textbooks in the hall and you relate the structures what you see in the actual microscope and what's drawn in the book. Okay, so you'll get a clear picture of what goes. And the last part is embryology. Now embryology is neglected by most of the students, like he will study at the end or something, though they don't really focus on the embryology part. But embryology is the single most important thing in anatomy. Each and every structure was like initially derived from the embryo itself, na? So embryology is the thing you need to focus on. Please don't neglect it. We'll do it in the end, or let's not study embryology and focus on gross anatomy right now. No, if you know if you know embryology well, you'll know the whole gross anatomy well, which structure it's derived from, which structure, the relations and all, right? So yeah, again we have Indian authors and foreign authors. Langman is a foreign author book. It's a foreign author book. And IB Singh again is an Indian author book. Indian author book. IB Singh, Dr. IB Singh has got his both books for embryology and histology as well. Again, you can study any book which suits you. Most people prefer IB Singh, but if you study Langman, you'll get, again, there's a huge difference, right? Foreign author books are always better, but they're hard to read. So if you manage to read Langman, you'll again get a clear picture of the concepts, and especially the clinical part in Langman is very good. Like the fetal anomalies and the pictorial representations are excellent in Langman, right? And if I show you the pictures from, these are the pictures from IB Singh. They are like average, but the pictures in Langman are excellent, right? And yeah, again you can follow Najib's videos, almost like 24 to 25 videos, again very good for embryology. For images you can use Google images. And yeah, the thing in embryology is you need to like visualize what goes on behind. Like if you're studying about the rotation of foregut or rotation of midgut, you need to know how the rotation takes place, and for that YouTube animations are the best, right? So if we study about the rotation of midgut, you have the superior mesenteric artery, the pre-arterial segment, the post-arterial segment. You need to know how the 390-90-90 division rotations take place to make the whole 270-degree anti-clockwise rotation. You need to know it. That's why you'll know how the transverse colon is formed, how the coils of ilium and jejunum are formed, how the transverse colon covers the whole thing, right? So yeah, for that you need animations, and there are a lot of animations available on the YouTube. I'll put 1 or 2 channel links in the description as well. So yeah, you can follow that. And yeah, I guess we're done with the video. I hope you liked it and you managed to get something out of it. And yeah, please like, share and subscribe the channel. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.